What's going on, guys? My name is Christopher and welcome to It's Complicated, the show where I talk about and showcase wristwatches. So if you love watches like I do, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button, then click on the bell and you'll be all set. Today, I'm going to be showcasing a Rolex Datejust reference number 16233. Here we go. All right, so today we are looking at this Rolex Datejust reference number 16223. It is a U serial number dating it either to 1997 or 1998. When I bought this watch, it just came with this Rolex Service Division box, and I have an extra link in there. Let's talk a little bit about the Datejust. You know, in 1945, the Datejust came out. That's 74 years ago. Totally insane. It's called a Datejust because the date changes just at 12 o'clock. Many watches with a date feature, even in 2019, don't have a quick changing date. Oftentimes, the date takes several hours to change. The Rolex Datejust has had a quick changing date for almost 75 years. The Datejust, especially the two-toned Datejust, is one of the most iconic Rolex watches ever made. Price, I paid just a tiny bit over $3,000 for this watch back in August of 2015. Now let's talk about the size. It's a 36 millimeter case. Even though it's a 36 millimeter case, the dial is the exact same size as a Submariner's dial. So while many people often scoff at a 36 millimeter watch, it's much larger than you'd think, especially given the lugs. Matter of fact, here's a picture of my friend John and I flexing our watches. That's an Oris Aquis he's wearing. I believe that's 43 millimeters. The Datejust doesn't look small at all in comparison. This watch is using the Rolex 3135 movement. It's used in Datejusts, Submariner dates, Sea Dwellers. It's just a fantastic movement. As far as the timekeeping for this movement, the last time I measured time on this Datejust, it was keeping perfect time, neither gaining nor losing even a tenth of a second a day. Just fantastic. The Datejust has a water resistance of 100 meters or 330 feet. The case here is made of stainless steel. You'll notice that's a no holes case, even though the Submariners from this era were still getting holes cases. The bezel, it's a fixed bezel, which is fluted and made of solid 18 karat gold. And I just love the way that shines when you turn that watch. I'm a sucker for gold, and it just looks fantastic. The newer ones, that even looks better. But, you know, for a watch that's 21 years old, I mean, it looks amazing. Rolex crystal. Watch has a sapphire crystal with that Rolex Cyclops lens there, which enlarges the date window by 2.5 times. Look at the crown. It is solid 18 karat gold with that Rolex crown on the crown with a little underline underneath. The case back is just that classic screw-in stainless steel case backs. No display window here. Let's get a good look at the dial and the hands here. This Datejust has a champagne dial with 18 karat gold stick markers and hands. It also has a chapter ring around the dial, which I love, and I just love those stick markers. And of course, the 12 o'clock marker is just the Rolex crown. The lume on this watch is tritium. That's what the two T's are next to the Swiss and the Made. It's just a little radiation, nothing to worry about here. Glows pretty well, although on a Datejust, you're not really getting a Datejust to rock the lume all day long. It doesn't last very long as well, being 20-year-old tritium. The bracelet is that classic Rolex Jubilee bracelet, little 5 links across, and the center links are 18 karat gold. Although the center links are hollow, as you can see, it's a good shot of them there. And the end links are also hollow on this Rolex Datejust 16233. You know, and I don't believe Rolex started using solid end links until 2000 or so. But I do appreciate that Jubilee style bracelet. And this bracelet does have a little bit of stretch. But, you know, for 20 years, it's really not that bad of a stretch, if you ask me. Check out the clasp. The clasp here is just stainless steel. It has that Rolex crown on it and that classic stamped Rolex emblem on each side of here, kind of a mirrored. See, on this side it says Rolex, on this side that Rolex is backwards. So it is mirrored, so they go together like that. Pretty cool. But this clasp is very sturdy and it works just as well as it did 20 years ago. There is a shot of the watch on my wrist. And overall, what else is there really to say? This is an all-time classic Rolex. They've been making this watch, like I said before, for almost 75 years. This is one of the most popular styles of this watch as well, with the two-tone bracelet and the champagne dial. Just really an all-time classic piece. You know, and looking at this watch on my wrist, I can tell you right now, I am going to miss it when I sell it. And that is the Rolex Datejust reference number 16233. It's a watch that I owned. It's a watch that I miss. I just sold it somewhat recently. You guys are seeing this video at a much later date when I was really busy that week. But it was a great watch. I wore it for a couple years. It kept excellent time all the time. It's a fantastic piece and it's a classic. I actually had a buddy tell me that when he thinks of Rolex, that two-tone Datejust is what comes to mind because that watch was so popular in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. And that wraps up another episode of It's Complicated. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, like this video, share it with all your friends, and I'll see you next time on another episode of It's Complicated.